This is the Ready Set Podcast, and here's your host, me, Joe Persinger. Hey, what's going on, you fucks? Been a crazy 8 weeks. We've got the coronavirus taking over. Joe Biden apparently is a racist, or is it a rapist? The Last Dance has definitely been taking over all of our last 5 Sundays, and Loughlin, something that started here on the podcast, has agreed to a plea agreement. Did I say that right? Anyway. This is your one-stop shop, current events and politics podcast. If society's a joke, then we're just here for the first set. Are you ready? Set podcast! All right, so let's get right to it. Lockdown fever is sweeping the nation. We have one version of us Americans has turned into Chinese sympathists. Who want this bitch locked down like that cute rich kid you met on Plenty of Fish how many years ago? The economy shouldn't be open. Not until we have a vaccine. This is what I've heard. I mean, I wonder how many of these fucks are saying this now who are anti-vaxxers. Wouldn't that be ironic? And of course, this abundance of people pushing this lockdown way of life have one thing in common. They care. They care about you. They care about the elderly. They care about the young children. No! They're all white liberals. And, they tend to be, most of them tend to be with, a trust fund or a robust savings account. But, if Facebook is a microcosm of anything, it kind of shows you that what's interesting is how people put out their public persona and then their personal persona. People kind of casually talk about their finances in the past. And what's interesting to see is how they present it on Facebook. Oh, well, our savings are dwindling. Well, that's interesting because majority of Americans don't even have dwindling savings, let alone savings at all. And they're pushing this permanent lockdown and vaccine talk like a Bible thumper bait and switching you at your Tupperware party for a rap with Jesus session. And this whole, we care, we wear masks, we're a blue party that cares about the people. This attitude is just sickening. And it's so fake. 2 months ago, okay, fine. I get it. We don't know what to expect. We see what's going on in China. It's slowly spreading anywhere. Everyone wants to be safe. Everyone cares. We get it. Okay, what we're all talking about, what we're saying, shutting down the economy for possibly 2 weeks in March would be devastating. Remember, the Dow Jones is at 29,000 points at this point. So everyone agrees. Okay, this is a sacrifice we're all going to have to make in order to get through this. But now we're 2 months in. It's been 8 weeks. It's been almost 10 weeks. And you have governors, constituencies, left-wing Democrats, factions in some moderates that straddle that moderate progressive line. All you're hearing is, we can't open anything. These red states are just playing Russian roulette. We have to believe all science. These are talking points they're using. And, all these believe all science, masks save lives, we're doing this for the elderly. This is bullshit talking points like a Christian hawking his Jesus wares at a Joel Osteen concert. I mean, it's almost as if these people have an alternative motive to suppress the economy. I'll get to that in 1 second. So let's recap here really quick. We have a large swath, according to the polls even, of upper-class liberals, mostly white, who want the economy locked down until a cure or a vaccine has been created. Which, remember, this is a virus. There are no cures or vaccines for virus. That's why you get the cold every so often, or the flu. So it's weird. Like I was just saying earlier, knowing that you can't really have a cure or a vaccine for a virus, but yet that's the the goal you're setting before you open the economy, it's almost as if Democrats have some ulterior motive going on here. So let's backtrack really quickly here to the origins of this lockdown. It was originally meant to stem what was thought to be an overwhelming demand of hospital beds within our healthcare system, and no one knew what to expect. And the thought of our healthcare system being overrun with coronavirus patients, I mean, it would just be disastrous. Think about it. Every hospital full of COVID-19 patients, where would you go if you broke your leg? What would you do if you stuck something up your ass? It happens. People need hospitals. And if they're overrun with people with this highly contagious, asymptomatic flu, it's going to topple the healthcare system. And if the toppling of the healthcare system happens, there's socially, economic, and politically disastrous fallouts from this. So getting ahead of it was obviously key, and the experts are saying we got to shut it down for 2 weeks, you fucks. And what we were seeing in Wuhan was all we had to go on. So that was the idea. So everyone agreed shutting down a humming economy that was coming on 29,000 points in the Dow was necessary. And that is where and how this whole thing started, to prevent the overwhelming of our healthcare system, which in turn, if we didn't do that, it would have taken down what was left of the economy, and then the political ramifications, of course, mostly for all parties in power, including governors, executive branches, and however. I mean, there are some districts out there where, the congressman could probably go take a shit in the middle of the street and still get reelected. Or, to fair and balance it, shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, whichever. However you want to look at it. But there would be political ramifications from it. And honestly, there would be anyway, because we're seeing that regardless. It's just how politics work, unfortunately. So I think I'm starting to understand why Democrats want to keep this shutdown shindig going. Should we call it the Schumer shutdown shindig going? Say that 50 fucking times. So how did we get to this political divide? That's pretty easy. The media and the Democrats. So my bad. That's redundant. And what they do is they keep moving the goalposts. When this whole thing started out, it was, we must save the healthcare system. Then we witnessed the two counterparts, that'd be the media and the Democrats, swivel and pivot into this being about saving lives. No, bitch. This was about stemming the taxing demand that would befall our healthcare system. Weren't you there? This is what we all agreed to. We couldn't let the healthcare system fall. It's like sitting on a stool, and how you have that jackass friend that thinks he's funny, and he kicks that third leg out from underneath the stool. That's basically the healthcare system and what the government was trying to prevent. Your dickhead friend from kicking the stool right out underneath your fucking feet. So an overall recap of what we have going on here is we all agreed shutting down the economy was necessary. We didn't want our healthcare system overrun with COVID-19 patients, and this was the best step to reaching that goal. But then a demand to keep this economic and social lockdown going, even at the expense of the working class and small business owners who were feeling the brunt of this. And when it became obvious our healthcare system would not be overrun, hospital beds, ventilators, they're all available. Some hospitals even being empty. And not making money because elective surgeries were basically canceled. So they were just sitting there, wait. It's basically like if you're running a burger shop and the government's like, you can only sell fries. You're going to be kind of limited on what you're selling there. And, the Democrats and their ulterior motives started emerging once this became clear. The curve was flattened, but yet it was, we must save lives. And the demand for this lockdown to continue was all pushed by Democrats. And that's what's so interesting, is once that curve flattened and it was obvious we didn't need all those ventilators or hospital beds, Democrats and their ulterior motives emerged as the demand for the lockdown to end grew, basically. This is all a long play for the November general election. Breaking news, folks. And I could have told you this at the end of fucking March. So, what is this long play the Democrats are up to here? I mean, it's no secret the economy was, forgive the pun, Trump's trump card. I mean, the ultimate card to play. Bill Clinton once said it. It's the economy, stupid. And the left, they all understood this. I mean, Bill Maher said it years ago. He wanted the economy to tank. Well, guess what, you fuck? You got your wish. And as long as Trump has the economy, which, it's trading at 25K right now, re-election in 2020 was and is mostly in his favor. And the Democrats know this, and they have known this. So when COVID-19 happens, an opportunity presents itself. We've established why the Democrats and the media want this lockdown to continue. I mean, they don't want the economy to be in good shape. They've even resorted to bribing their constituents, Democrat constituents, for November votes. So first of all, it's no secret that right now, if you're unemployed, you're making whatever your state is going to pay you in unemployment wages per week plus $600 from the government. That's a lot of cheddar. I mean, that's averaging right off the bat, 40 grand a year. And if you're getting that for half a year, so the government's outright paying you $20,000 a year just to sit at home. Is there anything wrong with that? I mean, not really, but it's not sustainable. That's kind of where, I find... Okay, I'll put it this way. I'm not kind of in the business of running my bank account into the ground, and I know some people have a hard time thinking on a macro level, but that's kind of what the government's doing right now, if you want to really whittle it down, and I'm not for that. So it's nice because, yes, it's, giving people a social safety net, but we already have those, first of all, and secondly, it's not sustainable. So, they can't do it for the long run, which is kind of what you're seeing, Democrats try to come up with when does this new bill that Nancy Pelosi put out. $3 trillion stimmy bribe is what I call it. It's a stimmy bribe. And this is how Nancy Pelosi operates. She's been doing it since she was elected to the Speaker of the House in 2006, and she's been doing it in the last 2 years, roughly. I mean, the election's coming up this fall. And the whole point of this is she writes out this bill. I think it gives out like $2,000 a month. There's, Green New Deal stuff in it. It's just, a Democrat's jerk-off list, if you will. And knowing it passed in the House, it was like last week, I believe. And she knows, she doesn't run the Senate. She runs the lower chamber of the legislative branch. And Mitch McConnell runs the Senate, the upper chamber. And there's no way in hell he's going to put this up for a vote. And even if he had the balls to, I doubt it would pass. And if it did, it's not getting signed into law, and 2/3 aren't going to overturn it. So it would be just a fucking waste of time in the long run. But Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to explain that to you and her constituents. I mean, why the hell would she want to be honest with you, for crying out loud? So now what she can do is turn around and say, well, these fucks didn't vote for it. They don't care about you. I care about you. Look what I did. Look what I got passed. It's fucking political theater. And her brand of politics reminds me of an analog company operating in a digital world. I mean, you do see this. I'm not going to get into examples because I can't think of one, but that's not the point. And on a federal level of government, you still have the whole Beltway media attempting to pin this black swan event on President Trump as if they knew any better. Oh, go fuck yourself, media. And on the state level, it's not any better. Surprise, surprise. Blue state governors are running their states with an iron fist and sickle. And what's even crazier, the media is like a pulling left guard on a jet-ripe 39th sweep X-Waggle Z Lightning play, just blocking anyone who gets in their way. Cuomo kills a swath of elderly by sending them back into nursing homes after testing positive for COVID-19, but he should replace Joe Biden as the Democrat nominee. You got Gretchen Whitmer won't let you buy seeds at Walmart. And I think people were protesting at the state capitol, and she for some reason thinks she's everyone's fucking mom and said that because of she didn't say this because of the protesting, but it was almost alluded to the fact that because people are protesting, the lockdown will continue. I remember when that happened to me once. I think I talked back to my mom, and then after being beat with a wooden spoon, I got grounded for another 2 weeks. And trust me, if Whitmer could beat you with a wooden spoon, she would have. But she's trying to become vice president right now. So closing this bitch up, not the podcast. I got a lot more to say. I got a list of grievances, people. So closing this up, Democrats are using this event as another attack to hold on to their grip of power and to attain more power in the process. By taking down the economy, they're looking to kick the only chair leg that they perceive is the only thing keeping Donald Trump in office. In other words, see that stool reference I made earlier in the podcast. What's funny is, while this thing was ravaging China back in November, December, and January, Democrats were busy attempting to impeach the president. Imagine, based on them, what Adam Schiff, chairman of the intelligence community, the guy that oversees intelligence, where this would be discussed, this gentleman could have possibly helped stem the problem that we're having now if he wasn't so busy trying to settle a political score. But nobody talks about that. We just ignore the fact that the Democrats were so busy impeaching the president during this pandemic in China. I guess at that point it was an epidemic or whatever. But either way, they weren't interested in it back then. Now all of a sudden, they're standing in a circle jerking each other off while watching videos of China. It's insane. So by blaming Trump for something Democrats also could have prevented, writing checks to American citizens and promising them government stipends, prolonging this lockdown to cripple the economy to win back votes from people who voted for Trump last time is a disgrace and testament to how desperate Democrats are. They're willing to piss on your shoes and tell you it's raining, buy you new shoes, and then take your jobs away and your health care too. In other words, they're an analog party in a digital world. Do you really think, in the end, Joe Biden could have handled this better? Speaking of Sleepy Joe, is Sleepy Joe a rapist or a racist? Most likely neither, if we're being honest. Even I don't even feel comfortable saying that, but, it's politics. What can you say? These are old white guys, and, everyone... I have friends that used to blurt out the N-word randomly when we were sitting in a room together, but, they're not racist, according to whatever. We're going in a whole different direction now. Anyway, is this bastard a rapist or a racist? Probably not. But he allegedly assaulted a former employee back in the early 90s whose story has been corroborated via numerous sources. Unlike, that social justice warrior lady who was accusing Justice Kavanaugh. Her friends, siblings have heard her tell this account in the past, and a CNN Larry King interview even emerged with Reed's late mother asking about a senator and an accusation. But is he racist? He did, sponsor those mid-90s crime bills that locked up an inordinate amount of black people. He did scrutinize Anita Hill in the early 90s. And now he says, you ain't black if you vote for Trump. He should have said, you ain't black, Jack. He probably could have spun that. You ain't black if you vote for Trump. Woo. Well, do with that what you will. But is this the guy Democrats want? I can't imagine being a Bernie supporter and thinking, yep, we're going with Joe Biden. The gaffes. The gaffes. You ain't black? We're going to lock him up in chains? Something like that. That was back in the Obama years. He just looks lost. He looks like Pelosi. An analog campaign operating in a digital world. It's what it looks like. Even his digital stuff looks like it's on tape. And Joe Biden isn't an accurate view of the Democrat Party. He's what the DNC wants. He's a product of the DNC being led by a former Obama stooge. Tom Perez, former labor secretary. He's what the big donors want. But this is the party of the people. And get the fuck out of here with that shit. If that was true, Bernie would be the nominee. So sports. Well, there's big lack thereof, I should say. No MLB, NBA, NHL. But hey, football might happen. The NHL, the NBA, they're fucked. I mean, I don't know how you continue this season, let alone have a postseason. The NBA is proposing a 16-team tournament. Yawn, meh, pass. I mean, just call the season silver. You're done, son. I'm trying to screw you again. I mean, the NHL? Does anyone other than Canada even care? I mean, how does that work? You're going to play hockey in the middle of the summer? What? Huh? I mean, I guess it would be nice to go into the ice rink in the middle of a hot summer day, but what? Hockey in the summer? It's a winter sport. In Major League Baseball, they could go 80 games, but with limited travel? Maybe division only or regional play only? Between these three leagues, does anyone even care at this point? I mean, at this point in the year, we're 3/4 the way of what would be the NHL and NBA postseason. MLB would be entering week 6. I mean, this is usually the time of the year I start paying attention to the standings in Major League Baseball. I mean, I guess some good news here is the Cubs are in first place. There's always that. But they don't care about you. They care about separating you from your money. Let's be honest. And that's what they're attempting to scrounge together. A way to separate you from your money. And trust me, if they could pack those stands, they would. You can tie a bow around a piece of shit, but it's still a piece of shit. That's really all I got to say about that. Small update here, folks. I have ordered my Tommy Tampa jersey. Oh, yeah. This is happening. All right, well, we've been following this series from the beginning. We've watched her go from Aunt Becky to Rip Aunt Becky in less than 4 hours. This was also one of the first stories we started following here on the podcast. And last Thursday, Lori Loughlin agreed to a plea. 2 months in prison, $150,000 in fines, 100 hours of community service? So what was she holding out for? I mean, was that second month an initial deal breaker? I mean, holding out over a year to avoid a 1 or 2 week sentence? I mean, see Felicity Huffman and company. I mean, there was the base. I think she got 2, only did 1 week. And now she has to serve a month minimum. After holding out for a year, just seems like a gargantuan waste of time only someone this wealthy could afford. And $150,000 in fines? She paid $250,000 when she committed the felony. What's the thinking? Or most likely the restrictions here. Does the law say 150 max? I mean, I don't believe that because her lawyers... I mean, this is how the system works. I don't know if I've really covered this before, but I mean, I actually learned this lesson from Mr. Democrat Congressman Mike Quigley, who at the time was my lawyer, was a Cook County commissioner via 2002. And he basically explained to me that the system has 2 ways it works. It works for rich people and poor people. Rich people have money. So rich people can pay with money. Poor people don't have money. Therefore, poor people have to pay with time. And that's why you see these unbalanced sentences with rich and poor. Because the government says, well, if you have money, you can have less time by giving us more money. It sounds like a mafia movie, but this is literally how it works. But if you don't have money to give the government, then you're going to pay with time. I know, obviously, there are violent crimes and there are some things you can't pay your way out of. But then again, Vince Neil killed someone in a DUI and only did 30 days. So there is a way to, depending on your lawyer and who he knows. But again, we're talking about a very variable there. There's celebrity. There's many tiers of justice, apparently. There's rich people justice, celebrity justice, and then, where the hell I was. And that was basically how the system was explained to me very, very crudely. So my guess is, if she has good lawyers, they most likely either, the government was either handcuffed, excuse the phrase, by the law saying that 150K is the max for this law. I don't know. I don't care enough to look it up, but it's just insane to me that they only find her. What is that? I can't do all that math at the top of my head. It's just a little bit over 50% of what she paid in the process of the crime. It's just insane to me. And then they only give her 100 hours of community service. 100 hours of community service. Again, going back to my little situation where I was represented by a Democrat, Mike Quigley, congressman out of Illinois. That's what I was sentenced to. And, he was a part of the group of lawyers that got our plea agreement agreed to. And we got 100 hours of community service, and we blew up mailboxes, 4 of them. I don't think we only got charged for maybe 2 of them. But we literally blew up mailboxes 6 months after 9/11, and I had to do 100 hours of community service. I mean, this is in Illinois. This U.S. Attorney's Office is based out of Massachusetts. The federal government, state governments, there's a lot of inconsistency here. I don't know what that says about Quigley and his lawyer skills, but she was doing as much community service as I did for blowing up mailboxes. It actually makes it sound like she got a lot, but 100 hours of community service is not a fucking lot. I don't know what that says about me now, or Quigley. Anyway, I'm all over the place here, folks. I'm trying. So, what's the overall message the U.S. Attorney's Office is trying to send here? It's worth it to, cheat your kids into college? Get the fuck out of here. Jesus Christ. And again, I don't know why she held out a year for this. She should have just fucking taken the L, sat in jail for a week, and no one would be talking about this still. All right, what else we got here? Well, Joe Rogan is exclusively going to Spotify. What an alpha baller move by the toe. I mean, fuck you, Google and YouTube. Can't wait to see the podcast evolve under Spotify. Congrats, you fuck. That Brady Manning golf charity event was pretty good. I liked it. It was funny watching how bad Brady is at golf, minus that one beauty shot he had where he talked shit back to Chuck. The round mound of rebound, which I'm sure ESPN is still replaying this Brady shot. And what are we? Not even 24 hours into the next day. They're gonna live on that golf thing for the next week because there's no more Last Dance to ride the week through. And Manning was also fun to watch. Tiger's boring, and Phil's definitely the hype man. Someone's got to get a clock around that guy's neck. Energy stocks are on the rise. Gas is up. People are out, and the economy is slowly rolling back. And let's hope we only need less government intervention. Are restaurants going to make it? How are these small businesses going to fare? Is the economy going to still grow as we see business post horrendous numbers for upcoming quarter 2 and quarter 3, or depending on which quarter a business is in the next 6 months? Who knows? And that's really going to be a factor coming into the election this fall, is where the economy is based on how these quarters are. I mean, are these restaurants and retail stocks going to drag down the whole market? I mean, I don't think so. Tech is good. You have all these streaming stocks doing very well. Biotech is up. It's just going to be interesting to see when all these companies report in those 2 quarters how much that's going to drag down the market. And then Joe Biden yesterday broke his 2-month public appearance drought. For some reason, politically, I'm guessing, he had laid a wreath at a site for Memorial Day. Trump had also done so earlier, so this is probably one of those things where people are like, well, Trump's doing it, we're going to have to do it too. So what he does, he shows up to the site with a mask on. And like I said, Trump did the same an hour earlier, minus the mask. The political mascot of 2020 is born for the Democrats, the surgical mask. Anyway, Sleepy Joe either fell asleep while he was standing there at the memorial, or he was praying. I mean, you can't tell anymore. And when his phone started ringing, he answered a cucumber he had in his coat pocket. Okay, I made that last part up, but you believed it for a quick second there, because he's that out of his fucking mind. And another thing, while we're on this Joe Biden thing really quickly, I don't know how I swung back here, but yet we're here. The cult of personality behind Biden is laughable. I've seen multiple posts on Facebook, Twitter, seeing people say this on Instagram, that, I don't give a crap about the accusations. This is the guy I'm voting for, which was interesting because 4 years ago when this was all happening, that was basically the Democrats being like, oh, I can't believe Republicans. They are just all about this cult of personality. They will vote for anyone regardless. Huh. Interesting how that works. And where was I here? It's just laughable how this cult of personality was. Biden is laughable. Everyone ignores all of his misdealings and scandals. Let's go through a few of these. I've already kind of touched on some. There was his son Hunter Biden and the Ukraine scandal in Burisma. Remember? Democrats weren't paying attention to the virus because they were hell-bent on impeaching Trump on this. He was lying about being a part of the Obama cabal that tried to take down Mike Flynn. I didn't even get a chance to talk about that. That came out a few weeks ago. You have a meeting with Obama, Susan Rice, Sally Yates, James Clapper, James Brennan, James Comey, all basically. What's interesting is a memo came out from Susan Rice that was declassified. And what it appears that memo looked to be was, let's say you're working in an official capacity and you needed to put something out there that gave you plausible deniability. Now, unfortunately, I can't read this stuff off the top of my head. I am not Ben Shapiro and I don't have 50 assistants working for me. Not that he does. I'm just saying in general. And essentially, this memo came across as something you would write to kind of cover your ass. So if something like this came out, that you were able to be like, oh, well, see, we said that, just do everything by the book. We didn't say to unmask anyone. We didn't say, to do anything illegal. See, I wrote down here to do everything by the book. That's a little weird, don't you think? Like if the cops came to your house and, accused you of murdering someone, and you're like, well, I did everything by the book, people would kind of start looking at you a little funny. And clearly, the Obama administration was doing something fishy there. Even if the FBI went rogue, even if James Clapper, James Brennan went off on their own. I mean, these guys are all principals in their own right. Even so, Obama had to have known about it. And it makes sense because I remember watching Obama that last term, watching the news from, halfway through his second term all the way up till now. And from, that last year, from 2015, it was like December 2015 is really when I started consuming the news, like on a daily basis. From that point, for a year and for 13 months till January of 2017, nothing was leaked. And all of a sudden, Trump's coming into office, and it's like, a pipe being shot with a machine gun, just leak after leak after leak. I wonder why. Jesus. Anyway, that's pretty much my big breakdown there. It's clearly they were doing something that they shouldn't have been doing, and Mike Flynn got caught in the crossfire. And again, what's so funny in between all that is Democrats hounding Trump for not going after your political enemies. The Democrats are just... Again, it's all perspective. It's all your prism. Through my prism, they just keep looking like the bad guys. If this is a movie, in my movie, they're the fucking bad guys. And I know you can spin that the other way. It's all perspective. But it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, what else do we got here? The Anita Hill incident. Oh, yeah, Joe Biden. He didn't believe Anita Hill. Then, that also brings Tara Reid back into it because that was just around the same time. There's multiple bills that he has sponsored and created that have led to the incarceration of an inordinate amount of black urban males. And then there's his racist statements. So to hear Democrats decry some Republican factions for the cult of personality disorder pertaining to Trump is just laughable. And perhaps they should look in the mirror. They're about to elect the Weekend at Bernie candidate, hoping he nominates their VP pick. Yeah, you have some factions out there. So what's really interesting is since Biden said You ain't black if you vote for Trump or whatever it was. Now you have people, I think Charlemagne the God is the guy I think I saw this from, saying that now he has to nominate a black woman. And something about, putting the black agenda up front. Listen, I understand what's going on with Charlemagne the God, that he's for black this, black, that's cool. All good. But if you want them to do something, don't say the black agenda. Don't speak in generics. Give the man something specific. No wonder no one wants to do anything for you. I mean, if I said to you, hey, I'm going to the grocery store, what would you like? Just give me the produce agenda. Give me some fucking items, bro. Motherfucker. Okay, done with Joe Biden. I mean, it's crazy how little there is to consume these days. No sports, no TV. It is the summer, so there isn't going to be TV anyway, but there's no TV on the way in the fall. They're not going to be recording in August. I guess they're starting to hype it up now, but I just don't have any expectations for, entertainment anytime soon. But The Last Dance was great. Well, I got to take a sip of coffee here. The Last Dance. Wow, was it great. That 90s team took a place in the heart of my coming-of-age years. So, to me, it represented Chicago basketball, Chicago fans, the hype, and the nostalgia of my childhood. And I got a few takeaways. Loved how the first 3 episodes were about MJ, Scotty, Dennis Rodman, and Phil, with a moving timeline juxtaposed between the subjects of that episode. I mean, great doc making and storytelling. And MJ, he's the OG killer. For some reason, that was a debate before. I'm not sure why, but now these young fucks get it. Kobe can't be MJ. Kobe is a copy of MJ. He said it himself on the documentary. And I guess if you're looking for a comparison nowadays to MJ, that would be Russell Westbrook. And what Russell Westbrook is a copy of a copy. Have you ever seen Multiplicity before with Michael Keaton back in 96? There's a guy named Steve, and he's a copy of a copy. Trust me, the parallel still works. But what about Bron? Our Maoist, revisionist, faux social justice warrior hero of the left. Kowtower to China. Well, there's no comparison to MJ. That should be obvious. Stat-wise, people have tried to make this comparison. It's just not there. But you know what is? A Scottie Pippen comparison. Hear me out. They are both small forwards. They both played the wing. They both played that hybrid point forward position. They both couldn't lead their teams on their own. Remember, LeBron had to team up with Bosh and Wade to win one. And sure, I think he won one on his own with Cleveland. I don't think he... I can't think that far back. But if I remember correctly, I think Golden State was kind of beat up too. So, he never had a migraine or back issues, but he could not... Just like Scotty, he struggled on his own. And I'd go as far to say that LeBron is the better of the two. Are you happy, Bron fans? They never are. MJ always has to have the last word. His back and forth with the guys during the series was probably one of my favorite things that were captured. And, no breaking news here, but MJ talked shit. So much shit that I think there was a scene at the end of the 98 Pacers championship conference game where him and Larry were saying bye to each other, and he was just still on Larry's nuts about it. Like, just to see that, in the past I've heard, the guys like Ewing and everyone he's faced talk about how he just won't let it go. And to actually see that captured on tape really makes you understand, when he beats you, he beats you. And he let you know that he beat you. He let you know that you are nothing to him when it comes to playing, especially basketball, but I'm sure other sports as well or other competitions. He demanded excellence. He was excellent. And not only should this debate about who the greatest NBA player to ever exist is, it cements MJ as the best ever and the best there ever was. Well, that's going to do it, folks. Check us out on Facebook. Give us a like. check us out on YouTube. Please hit the notification bell. Comment, like their videos. I mean, if you want to go back to episode 1 and like all 35 of them, that would be awesome. Just, hint, hint, wink, wink. Check us out on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all of our other podcast partners. I believe Podcast Addict, CastBox are out there as well. Spotify. And yeah, that's going to do it. Again, I know I'm not too consistent on these. Got a lot going on these days. But I promise we're going to get going back to hopefully our weekly schedule. It's probably going to change from Saturdays, but just, keep in touch with all the social media, and we'll let you know what's going on. All right? Well, this is your one-stop shop, current events and politics podcast. If society's a joke, then we're just here for the first set. All right, we'll see you soon, you fucks. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Ready, Set podcast. Check us out next week, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter and look for us on our YouTube channel, Ready, Set Podcast.
Yeah, tell me something I don't know. Yeah, tell me.
Ready, Set Podcast.